Welcome, Salt Lake City, Luke Ford. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. It was actually nice hanging out for a couple hours. Yes. You guys with yarmulkes in Salt Lake City. Yes. You know, what's wrong with this picture? So, maybe a couple things before we start. You know, we made a series of agreements before we started. You know, finish switch ago. You know, and I'm actually not going to repeat what those agreements are because we're doing it on a trust. So we don't need it on air. We don't need to kind of. We're creating what I think we call the circle of integrity, which, by the way, is not in my book, Soul Friends. And we just have to establish one thing before we get started. I just want to share with the listeners, Luke made a comment on his blog a couple years ago, and Soul Friends was worthless. But your girlfriend liked it.
My girlfriend thought it was the best book on Judaism she'd ever read.
Oh my God. Now, did you break up because of that?
No, this was after we broke up.
You see, now we have it. The real source of Luke Ford going after Marc Gafni. His girlfriend liked Soul Friends, thought it was the best book on Judaism she ever read, and he didn't. Exactly. Now we have it. I understand. So just to say, you know, the reason I'm doing this conversation with you, I guess we decided we're going to kind of interview each other, is, and it's really due what no one ever does, you know, which is talk to the other side, who you feel is totally discredited, totally unethical, like the worst version of tabloid, internet, you know, I mean, everything I don't believe in. And kind of, I'm saying, let's suspend that. You wrote me an email and said, hey, can I interview you? You know, all the advice around me, as you can imagine, was, oh my God, why would you possibly do that?
Did anyone tell you to do it?
Not a lot of people.
Did anyone say that's a good idea?
There was no one who said it was a good idea. Sorry. But I really tried to go with my heart here. And my heart was, you know, it was two things. You know, one is, A, you know, since you're the person online who's created a lot of the negative records, right? Talk to them. You know. B, you know, everyone's going to say, hey, you can't try to record everything you say. You agree that we're going to do this great interview, okay? And C, you know, I have this belief, start there, that actually everybody, you know, no matter how complex they are, you know, has a point of integrity that we can talk to. And I believe that's true about me, I believe it's true about you. And so I'm talking now to Luke Ford the angel. And I'm talking to Luke Ford of radical integrity. I'm talking to Luke Ford who I completely can trust. You know, and so, you know, that's what I'm doing here. Maybe the last thing, the introduction I'll, you know, give over to you is maybe we could start, you know, talking about, maybe I'll start with, you know, my interview questions. Then you'll start with your interview questions. And just talk a little bit about what we talked about this morning, which is, I mean, who are you? Who is Luke Ford? Let me try and explain the question. I'll give a complete overview. You know, you're a little bit of a paradox enigma. You know, we just had breakfast, nice breakfast, Salt Lake City, and we had a lovely waitress named Lindsay. And this wholesome, beautiful energy, and you just melt it, right? I mean, it's sweet, and you just fell in love with this. Is that right?
Totally.
Right. Our cake's working?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fell in love with Lindsay.
Fell in love with Lindsay.
I'm a fool for love.
And she's this wholesome. On the other hand, you know, there's LukeFord.com, hardcore pornography, right?
Is there a contradiction there?
What's the right? Right? Thank you for helping me with that question. Right. So, in other words, what makes you run? In other words, on the one hand, this kind of soft appreciation of a woman who's clearly a woman with integrity, you know, wholesome, you know, you could feel her values almost, right? You could feel her goodness, you know, on the one hand, right? You know, she didn't have her, you know, sexuality kind of protruded. She actually had her dignity, her kind of really feminine beauty in its most, you know, wondrous, you know, dignified form. On the other hand, that seems to be this very beautiful thing. You have this real appreciation for that, which I just saw in your face. You know, and I offered to perform the marriage, you know, and we accept on that? We've agreed on that? You got an agreement here on
shaking hands.
Shaking hands, okay, shaking hands.
Wish we had this on video.
When Luke gets married, Rabbi Gafni's marrying him. That's our agreement here. Okay, but more particularly, at the same time, you know, you're a gossip columnist or were. I want to be accurate here because I don't want to walk you into what you were. It's unfair. So in other words, if you're not that, correct me. If you were at one point, if you're not now, please tell me. Correct anything I say that's wrong, right, for the pornography industry. And at least the way you're quoted online, you know, you kind of say things like this. know, true, not true, I'll just put anything out there, see what sticks, you know, with a kind of very loose and sloppy regard for the truth. You know, slander obviously is a big Jewish deal, you know, 39 times, you know, that doesn't seem to kind of stop you so quickly. And so you said something in a car, which I thought was helpful. You were saying a movie? I don't remember, but you gave an image about a person that everyone has their own code.
Yeah. Omar in The Wire, he's a he makes his living holding up drug dealers. And when a defense attorney in court gives him a hard time for it, he said, "But never touch a citizen." And the reason is that everyone's got to have a code.
Meaning, are you comfortable with that, by the way, Luke? You don't look over it.
Yeah.
It's fine. You're good, okay. So meaning that you have your own complex code.
Meaning that everybody has a code, even Hitler.
Even Hitler has a code. You mentioned, what was the Hitler movie you mentioned?
There was a great movie on Hitler, came out in the last 5 years, where he was a protagonist, and it was his last week of life in the bunker. And he was a sympathetic protagonist.
Right.
And so my point is that everybody has a code, everybody thinks that some things are right, some things are wrong. But, Hitler thought that killing Jews was right.
Right.
But he was like master puppet.
Right. So what's your configuration? And here's the obvious question. So what's your code? Right? You understand why I would ask you about that contradiction?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even let me ask you a simple question. Angela Jolie, I just happened to read this in Vanity Fair, okay, who has a different energy, I think, than Lindsay, right? Angelina Jolie, I think it is, right? Angelina Jolie says, 95% about what's written about Brad and I in the tabloids is absolutely false. I would say 95% of what's, I read it once 2 years ago, your long blurb on me, is absolutely false. Now, you must know, let's put Gafni aside, you must know that a lot of what you say about people that you haven't really checked. You don't have time to check. You don't have a resource fact-checking thing, right? You take the Judaism seriously. You're sitting here with a yarmulke and NCT, right?
Right.
You made a blessing over your food. If with your permission, I can describe you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Right. You're wearing a beard. I was surprised. You told me you read an article by Meir Soloveichik in Commentary about the kind of Jewish significance of a beard. Right. So those are pretty strong positions there. And yet, at least you're cited. You may be miscited and correct anything. I don't want to in any way put anything on you that's not right. But you're cited as saying you're playing fast and loose with the truth about a lot of people online. People say about you online, man just thrives for negative attention, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So how do those two fit together? What's the code? What's the internal system?
First, when someone converts to anything, including Judaism, they bring everything that they are, or their baggage and past, to the next.
Right.
So let's say that Judaism is God's will for Jewish people. Even someone who's dedicated to doing God's will for Jewish people, they're a deeply flawed person, both morally and psychologically. God's will is going to get poured through a very holy vessel.
Right.
So I believe that Judaism is God's will for the Jewish people, but my Judaism is still poured through my very flawed vessel. So let's say, well, I am narcissistic. I do have narcissistic personality disorder. So I had that before I became interested in Judaism, and I have that now when I am interested in Judaism.
Mm-hmm.
So my Judaism gets poured through my spirit vessel.
That's a beautiful projection. That's a beautiful projection. Can I play with that for a second?
Yeah.
And again, I want to play here, with ideas a little bit. And I've noticed in the car for a couple hours we chat, and if I can just be, and again, whatever happens after this, whatever happens before, this space is sacred for me. So I'm talking not to the person I've heard about, not to the person who's written online. I'm talking only to the person who's in front of me. So I've enjoyed the conversation for the last 2 hours. So, and I see that you have a sense of ideas. I just want to play with ideas here. And one of my rules for this interview is I'm going to slander no one. I'm going to attack no one. I want to try and do a deep with you about ideas and what life's about. And we can talk about me. We can talk about you. You can ask questions. So you just talked about a gorgeous idea. So you said basically, look for it, but it could be, anyone. Everyone has some level of flaw.